Welcome to our deep dive, and today we're looking at, well, it's kind of a unique collection of excerpts from an English study skills textbook.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got grammar lessons, but then right alongside them, poems
Interesting.
and thought-provoking essays.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool mix. Get ready to explore the power of language, I guess.
Okay.
The impact of education.
Right.
And how different cultures see the world.
Sounds fascinating. It's interesting because it's not your typical textbook,
Right.
It's not dry like most are. I think they're trying to show by weaving all these different pieces together how language skills connect to broader themes, real world situations.
And right from the start, it asks some pretty big questions.
Okay.
Like, what is education?
Right.
And then what happens when people don't have access to it?
Yeah.
And it even quotes Einstein.
Oh, wow.
Saying education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's very much echoed by Nelson Mandela.
Oh, really?
Who said, and I'm sure you've heard this one, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world.
Wow.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's making us think about education as this force that shapes not just individuals, but societies.
Yeah, and that makes me think about the poem,
Okay.
How to Help Us, which is included in these excerpts.
Okay.
And it talks about how God created teachers to guide and educate us.
Okay.
But then it makes you wonder, are teachers only found in classrooms?
Right.
Or are there other, quote, teachers,
Yeah.
in our lives?
That's a great point. I think it connects to that idea of education being a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
We encounter it in many forms throughout our lives.
Right.
I mean, our families, our experiences, even challenges we face can be sources of learning.
It reminds me of Helen Keller's story.
Oh, yeah. Which is also in these excerpts.
Okay.
It's just incredible. Her account of learning the word water.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah.
Imagine experiencing the world purely through your senses, and then suddenly, a word unlocks this whole new level of understanding. And she describes her teacher, Anne Sullivan, right? Spelling water into her hand as cool water flowed over it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's that moment where she connects that physical sensation to the word. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And her story, it goes beyond just, a personal triumph.
Yeah.
It really illuminates the power of language to shape our reality.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not just labels.
Right.
Language gives us the tools to understand, to categorize, and to conceptualize the world around us.
Yeah, and so that's where those grammar exercises come in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, in the textbook.
Like word formation, parts of speech, how to build a paragraph.
Right, so it's
all connected.
It's laying the groundwork.
It is. It's it's the foundation for being able to communicate effectively.
Right.
Express our thoughts. Engage in critical thinking.
And then there's Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken.
Oh, yeah.
Which also appears in the textbook.
Oh, okay.
It's about, this traveler comes to a fork in the road.
Right.
And has to choose which path to take.
And it captures that essence of making choices.
Yeah.
And not just in education, but in life. I mean, it highlights that idea that the path we choose shapes our journey.
I can definitely relate to that feeling of being on a road less traveled.
Yeah.
Wondering where it might lead.
Yeah. Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Many times.
Yeah. I think most of us have faced those moments, where we've had to make choices that felt significant, uncertain where they would lead.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of different paths, this essay, The Dream Bridge, takes us on this journey to a remote village in Nepal.
Wow.
And it's all about encountering different cultural beliefs.
Okay.
And how tradition kind of clashes with the desire for progress.
I see.
The author, he describes meeting these young boys who worship the Mogu Karnali River as their mother.
Wow.
Yeah. And they offer leaves and flowers as part of their daily ritual.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of how closely their traditions are tied to nature.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is these boys who are so deeply rooted in their traditions, they also long for modernization.
Really?
They believe that building a bridge across the river will bring opportunities
yeah.
and development to their village because it's isolated.
So their dream bridge becomes the symbol of connecting their traditional world to the wider world.
It's a great point.
It's complicated. It highlights those complex realities of education on a global scale. How do we balance respect for different cultures with the desire for progress?
Yeah, and it makes you think about how your own cultural background shapes the way you see things.
Absolutely.
And then encountering different perspectives can really broaden your horizons.
It's a reminder that education isn't just about, absorbing facts, but about developing empathy and understanding in a world of diverse beliefs and values.
And that leads us to the essay Pizza, Pakora, and Pancit.
Okay.
Which dives headfirst into the importance of cultural awareness.
All right.
And the author Shravani Banerjee, she uses some really powerful anecdotes from her own life to illustrate this. Like, she talks about the violence directed at Sikhs after 9/11 because people, mistook their turbans for something else entirely. And it shows how ignorance and prejudice can have devastating consequences.
It's a stark reminder that we need to move beyond just, tolerating differences. And strive for genuine understanding.
Especially in today's world.
Yes.
Where everyone is so interconnected.
Absolutely.
And Banerjee also points out how even classroom etiquette can differ greatly between cultures.
Like, for example, avoiding eye contact might be seen as disrespectful in one culture, but respectful in another. And these subtle differences can easily lead to misunderstandings.
If we're not aware of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So her argument is that global education is crucial for bridging these cultural divides.
Right.
It's about learning to appreciate and respect different ways of thinking, behaving, interacting with the world.
And understanding that our own culture is just one lens through which we view reality.
Right.
There are so many other lenses out there.
Now, shifting gears a bit to the article.
Okay.
Migration and Globalization, which explores how people are moving across borders.
Right.
In this increasingly globalized world.
Yeah. Did you know that the number of people living outside their home countries has just skyrocketed in recent decades?
Really?
It's true. The article highlights this push and pull dynamic driving migration factors like poverty, conflict, lack of opportunity, push people away from their home countries, while things like better job prospects, education, a safer environment pull them towards new destinations.
So it's like this complex dance between what's driving people away and what's attracting them to a new life.
And the article doesn't shy away from the complexity of globalization either.
Okay.
It acknowledges the benefits like economic opportunities, technological advancements, cultural exchange, but it also points out the downsides like rising inequality, exploitation, the risk of cultures becoming too homogenous.
So it really leaves us with a lot to think about.
It does.
What are your thoughts on the overall impact of globalization?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I think it requires careful consideration.
Yeah.
There are valid arguments on both sides.
Right.
The key is to understand the nuances and complexities involved.
Now let's take a short detour to Japan.
Okay.
With the folk tale The Mirror of Matsuyama. It's a story about a stepmother and daughter who completely misunderstand each other.
Right.
Which causes a lot of hurt feelings and accusations.
It's a reminder that even within families, misunderstandings can occur.
Right.
Especially when communication breaks down.
Right. And in the story, the stepmother buys the daughter a beautiful mirror as a gift.
Okay.
But the daughter interprets it as this symbol of vanity. Thinking her stepmother values beauty over their relationship.
Oh, wow.
It's a classic example of how our own biases and assumptions can color our perceptions, leading to conflict and hurt feelings.
Yeah, and imagine how much more prone to misunderstanding we are when interacting with people from different cultures with different norms and values.
It really underscores the need.
It does.
To really try to see the world through another person's eyes.
Yeah.
And to realize that our interpretations are not always accurate reflections of reality.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating how even a simple folktale like that can hold such profound insights about human nature and the importance of communication. But moving on from subtle misunderstandings, let's talk about blatant satire.
You're talking about The Company Man, right?
Yeah.
It's, Well, it's a really dark
It is.
and satirical story about Phil, this guy who literally works himself to death.
Yeah.
Kind of a jarring shift in tone from the folktale.
It is, but I think it highlights the range of topics and writing styles included in these excerpts. The company man is so effective at, making its point. The story starts with Phil dying at his desk on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And the thing is, nobody seems surprised.
Right.
It's like they were all just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, he's portrayed as this classic workaholic driven by deadlines and this constant pressure to prove himself.
Right. Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Has our society created a culture where this kind of behavior is not only accepted, but rewarded?
It's a really important question.
It is.
It challenges us to think about how we define success and what we're willing to sacrifice in its pursuit.
Right.
Phil's story definitely makes you pause and reflect on your own work-life balance.
Yeah. Have you ever felt that pressure?
Yeah.
Prioritize work above everything else.
Definitely.
Even your own well-being.
Yeah, I think it's something many of us can relate to.
I think so.
Especially in today's, fast-paced, always-on world.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the demands of work and lose sight of what truly matters.
But this story serves as a reminder that there's more to life.
There is.
Than just climbing the corporate ladder.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between work, relationships, personal well-being, a sense of purpose beyond our jobs.
On a lighter note, there's also this story about two young girls who accidentally cause a major mishap and then have to grapple with the consequences. Forgiveness.
Forgiveness? Oh, yeah, Jennifer and Laura, who accidentally knock over a beehive
Yeah.
on their grandfather's farm.
And their initial reaction is to panic.
Of course.
And try to cover up their mistake.
Right. Which, of course, only makes things worse.
So relatable, though, isn't it?
It is.
That feeling of dread when you know you've messed up.
Yeah.
And you're terrified of the consequences.
What makes the story so compelling, though, is their emotional journey. They go from fear and shame to ultimately finding the courage to confess and seek forgiveness.
And it highlights the power of forgiveness.
It does.
Not just for the person being forgiven, but for the person offering forgiveness as well.
Exactly. It's about letting go of anger, resentment, moving forward.
And their grandfather's response is so powerful.
It is.
He's initially angry, understandably,
yeah.
But then he shows them compassion. And emphasizes that making mistakes is part of life.
Right.
It's what we learn from them that matters.
Beautiful message.
Yeah, it is.
It's about second chances and the importance of grace. But getting back to the power of language.
Right.
The textbook also includes this really thought-provoking story by Leo Tolstoy.
Oh.
Called 3 Questions.
Right.
And it explores that idea of living in the present moment, which ties in nicely with some of the philosophical ideas we've been discussing.
Tolstoy has a way of getting to the heart of complex philosophical questions through simple stories. And in this one, an emperor becomes obsessed with finding answers to 3 seemingly straightforward questions.
Okay.
What is the most important time?
Right.
Who is the most important person?
Yeah.
And what is the most important thing to do?
And he consults all sorts of wise men and scholars.
Yeah. And none of their answers satisfy him?
Right. He's looking for these absolute, definitive answers.
Right.
Which, of course, are elusive.
And then he encounters this humble hermit.
Yeah.
Living a very simple life.
Right. And it's through his interactions with the hermit and a series of unexpected events that the emperor comes to understand that true wisdom lies not in abstract concepts, but in the lived experience of the present moment.
It's like the hermit is saying, stop overthinking it.
Yeah.
The most important time is now.
Right.
The most important person is right in front of you.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to do is act with kindness and compassion in this very moment.
It's a powerful reminder to be present and engaged in our lives.
Yeah.
Rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, it also connects to that idea of rationalism.
Right.
Which Bertrand Russell discusses in his essay, Why I Am a Rationalist.
Okay.
Also included in these excerpts.
So Russell argues for the importance of...
He does.
Basing our beliefs on evidence and reason, not on tradition or dogma.
He sees rationalism as essential for progress.
Right.
Understanding the world.
He doesn't dismiss the importance of emotions or intuition.
Right.
but he emphasizes the need for critical thinking, questioning assumptions, being open to new information.
It's like he's saying, don't just accept things blindly. Right. Think for yourself, examine the evidence, use logic and reason to form your own conclusion.
And even though he recognizes that promoting rationalism can be challenging in a world, often driven by emotion and unquestioned beliefs, he remains optimistic about the power of reason to guide us towards a better future.
It certainly seems like this textbook is trying to encourage those very skills.
It does.
Critical thinking, questioning assumptions, examining evidence by presenting all these different texts and ideas, and letting the reader draw their own conclusions.
Exactly. It's like it's providing a framework.
It is.
For thinking about the world in a more informed and nuanced way.
And speaking of frameworks, we can't forget the textbook's bread and butter. Those grammar lessons. It might seem like a dry topic, but mastering the mechanics of language is crucial for effective communication.
It's like learning the rules of the road before you start driving.
Absolutely. The textbook breaks down things like parts of speech, sentence structure, paragraph construction.
These might seem like technicalities, but they're the foundation.
They are.
For expressing ourselves clearly and engaging in meaningful dialogue with others.
It's like having the tools to build a house. You need to know how to use those tools effectively to create something solid and lasting.
And just as learning a new language opens up a whole new world of understanding and connection, so too does mastering our own language.
Empower us to engage more fully with the world around us.
Now, we've talked a lot about the importance of understanding different cultures, but sometimes misunderstandings can happen even within the same family.
Absolutely. The textbook includes this anecdote about Nasruddin, the wise fool, which perfectly illustrates the power of perspective and a little bit of clever trickery when it comes to education.
Have you heard of him?
I have. He's kind of a folk hero known for his witty tales and unconventional wisdom. Well, in this story, Nasruddin announces that he's going to give a series of lectures. And of course, a large crowd gathered, eager to hear what he has to say. But when he arrives, he asks them a rather peculiar question. Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
And naturally, they don't.
No, they don't.
So what does he do?
He cancels the lecture.
Oh, wow.
He declares with mock indignation that there's no point in talking to people who don't even know the topic.
That's classic Nasruddin.
It is.
I can just imagine the bewildered looks on people's faces.
The next day, an even larger crowd gathers, determined not to be outsmarted this time. But when Nasruddin asks the same question, they all confidently shout, "Yes, we know."
So he cancels the lecture again, right?
He does, but this time he replies with a twinkle in his eye, then there's no need for me to give this lecture. You already know it all.
He's playing with them, isn't he?
He is!
Turning the whole idea of a lecture on its head.
Exactly. Now, for the third lecture, the crowd is utterly confused. Some claim to know the topic, while others insist they don't.
So what happens next?
Nasruddin seizes this moment of glorious confusion and says, excellent. Those of you who know should tell those of you who don't.
Wow.
And with that, he departs.
He does.
Leaving the crowd to figure things out amongst themselves.
It's brilliant.
It is.
He's making a point about active learning and how sometimes the best way to learn is to engage in discussion and share knowledge with each other.
It's a reminder that education isn't always about passively receiving information. Sometimes it's about asking questions, challenging assumptions, figuring things out together.
And speaking of cultural awareness, which we touched upon earlier, let's revisit the essay, Pizza, Pakora, and Pancit. It really emphasizes how important it is in today's interconnected world.
The author argues that classrooms are becoming microcosms of the global village, with students from diverse backgrounds interacting daily. This presents both incredible opportunities and potential challenges.
And she uses an anecdote about a student who, after a presentation on Islam, remarks, so it looks like all these religions preach pretty much the same stuff.
On the surface. It might seem like an innocent observation, but...
but it reveals
a
lack of understanding about the nuances and complexities of different belief systems.
Absolutely. And it highlights why we need a more comprehensive approach to global education.
It's not just about learning facts about different cultures.
No, it's not.
It's about developing a deeper understanding and appreciation for the richness and diversity of human experience.
She suggests incorporating discussions of global issues, inviting international authors to speak, promoting study abroad programs to help broaden students' perspectives.
All great ideas for fostering greater cultural understanding. Now let's revisit the topic of migration and globalization, which is such a defining characteristic of our time.
The article we discussed earlier highlights the sheer scale and complexity of international migration.
It points out that the number of people living outside their countries of origin has risen dramatically.
It has.
From 120 million in 1990 to a staggering 244 million in 2015.
That's incredible.
That's an incredible increase.
Yeah, and it's driven by a multitude of factors. From economic disparities, technological advancements, to conflict, persecution, even environmental changes.
The article uses the push and pull theory to explain these.
It does. Push factors like poverty or lack of opportunity
force people to leave their homelands, while pull factors like the promise of jobs or a better life
attract them to new destinations.
So it's like this complex interplay of forces shaping the movement of people across the globe.
The article also examines the impacts of migration on both host countries and migrants themselves.
It acknowledges the benefits.
It does.
Like economic growth and cultural diversity, but also the potential challenges.
Yeah, like competition for jobs and resources. Cultural clashes.
It's a multifaceted issue with no easy answers, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Migration, much like globalization itself, presents both opportunities and challenges.
And the key is to manage it thoughtfully, taking into account the complexities involved. To maximize its positive impacts while mitigating potential downsides.
And education plays a vital role in this.
Absolutely.
Understanding the historical and contemporary drivers of migration, the economic and social impacts, the diverse experiences of migrants themselves is essential for informed decision-making, creating more inclusive societies.
Now let's circle back to a point we made earlier about misunderstandings.
Even within the same family. Cultural differences or personal biases can lead to miscommunication and conflict.
The Mirror of Matsuyama, the Japanese folktale we talked about earlier, illustrates this perfectly.
It's a reminder that our perceptions are often colored by our own biases and experiences,
which can lead us to misinterpret the actions and intentions of others. Even those closest to us.
In the story, the stepmother buys the daughter a beautiful mirror as a gift.
But the daughter sees it as a symbol of her stepmother's vanity. Assuming she's being compared unfavorably.
A classic case of a well-intentioned gesture being completely misunderstood.
And if these kinds of misunderstandings can happen within a family, imagine how much more likely they are to occur. In cross-cultural interactions.
Where different norms and values are at play.
It underscores the need for empathy.
It does.
For trying to see the world through another person's eyes, and for being willing to question our own assumptions.
Now, shifting gears a bit to another theme that emerged from these excerpts. That pressure to achieve success, often at the expense of our well-being.
The Company Man, which we discussed earlier, offers a sobering perspective on this.
It does. It's a story that stays with you.
It does.
Phil, the protagonist, is so consumed by his work that he neglects his health, his family, everything. And in the end, it literally kills him.
The story is meant to be satirical, but it also holds a mirror up to our society's often unhealthy obsession with work and achievement.
It does. It forces us to ask ourselves, what is the cost of success? And is it worth sacrificing our well-being and relationships in its pursuit?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves regularly.
I'd agree.
Especially in today's competitive work environment.
The story serves as a reminder that our jobs, while important, should not define our entire existence. We are more than our titles, our salaries, our accomplishments.
We are complex human beings with a multitude of needs.
Yes, we are.
Desires and aspirations.
That deserve to be nurtured and fulfilled.
And neglecting those aspects of ourselves for the sake of our jobs can lead to burnout, unhappiness, and even, as in Phil's case, tragic consequences.
The company man is a wake-up call. To reevaluate our relationship with work and to prioritize our well-being.
It's a reminder that a fulfilling life requires balance, self-care, and a sense of purpose that extends beyond the confines of the workplace.
Now, let's turn our attention to a story that explores the transformative power of forgiveness and the importance of second chances. Forgiveness, the drama about the two young girls who damaged the beehive, highlights the complexities of this essential human experience.
Their journey from fear and guilt to confession and ultimately forgiveness is so relatable.
They're terrified of their grandfather's reaction, but they also know they can't live with the weight of their secret.
It's a reminder that forgiveness isn't always easy.
No, it's not.
It requires humility, empathy, a willingness to let go of anger and resentment.
But the rewards are immense.
They are. The story beautifully illustrates that forgiveness is a gift.
It is.
Both to the person who receives it and the person who offers it.
It frees us from the burden of guilt and shame.
Right.
And allows us to rebuild broken relationships.
It allows us to extend compassion and grace.
It does.
To ourselves and others.
Right. Acknowledging that we all make mistakes.
And the grandfather's response in the story is so crucial.
It is.
Despite his initial anger.
Yeah.
He chooses to forgive the girls.
He does.
Emphasizing that everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And that what matters most is learning from them and moving forward.
Powerful message about the importance of second chances and the healing power of forgiveness. Now let's delve into
another thought-provoking piece from the textbook.
Right.
Leo Tolstoy's story, 3 Questions. It's a tale that invites us to reflect on the nature of time, the importance of the present moment, and the essence of a meaningful life.
The story centers on an emperor who becomes obsessed with finding answers to 3 seemingly simple, yet profoundly challenging questions.
What is the most important time?
Right.
Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do?
He consults with wise men, scholars, spiritual leaders.
He does, but none of their answers truly satisfy him.
He's searching for these definitive, absolute answers.
Right. But the more he searches, the more elusive the truth seems to become.
And then in a twist of fate, he encounters this humble hermit living a simple life in the woods.
Right. And through his interactions with the hermit and a series of unexpected events, the emperor comes to understand that true wisdom isn't found in
abstract concepts or philosophical treatises, but in the lived experience of the present moment.
The hermit teaches him that the most important time is now.
Right.
The present moment, the only time we have any real control over.
Right. The most important person is the one standing before us. Right. The person we're interacting with in this very moment.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to do is to act with love, kindness, and compassion toward that person.
Because that is the essence of a meaningful life.
It is. It's a powerful message about the importance of mindfulness.
Yeah.
Being fully present in each moment and recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings.
It challenges us to shift our focus away from anxieties about the past or future.
Right.
And to embrace the reality of the present moment where true wisdom and meaning can be found.
Now let's transition to Bertrand Russell's essay, Why I Am a Rationalist.
Okay.
Which advocates for the power of reason and evidence-based thinking.
In a world often swayed by emotion, dogma, and superstition.
Russell argues that rationalism isn't about suppressing emotions or denying the value of intuition and creativity.
It's about approaching the world with a critical and discerning mind.
Right. Seeking evidence to support our beliefs. Being open to revising those beliefs.
Right.
In the face of new information.
He believes that rationalism is essential.
It is.
For progress, for understanding the complexities of the world.
Yeah.
And for making informed decisions that benefit both individuals and society as a whole.
He acknowledges that promoting rationalism can be difficult.
Yeah, especially in a world where...
Right, where many people cling to irrational beliefs and resist change.
He points out that even in supposedly enlightened societies, superstition, prejudice, and dogma can persist.
It can.
Fueled by fear, ignorance,
right,
and lack of critical thinking skills.
However, despite these challenges, Russell remains optimistic about the power of reason to illuminate the world and guide us towards a more just, equitable, and fulfilling future.
He sees education as key.
He does.
To cultivating rational thinking.
It's about giving people the tools to analyze information critically, to discern fact from fiction.
And to make decisions based on evidence rather than blind faith or unfounded assumptions.
It seems like this English studies skills textbook, with its diverse selection of texts and thought-provoking themes, is trying to do just that.
Yeah.
Equip readers with the tools for critical thinking and encourage them to engage with the world in a more thoughtful and informed way.
You know, as we've been delving into these excerpts, I've been struck by how interconnected all these themes are.
Me too. We've gone from exploring the power of language and the impact of education to discussing cultural awareness, globalization, even the importance of work-life balance and forgiveness.
It's like the textbook is saying that learning English isn't just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about using language as a tool to understand ourselves, our relationships with others, and our place in the world.
It's about recognizing that language is intertwined with culture, history, philosophy, and our own personal experiences.
And that education, in its truest sense, is about expanding our minds, developing empathy, and learning to navigate a complex and ever-changing world.
Exactly. It's about equipping ourselves with the knowledge, the skills, and perspectives we need to live meaningful and fulfilling lives, both as individuals and as members of a global community.
And on that note, it seems we've reached the end of our deep dive into these fascinating excerpts. Yeah, it's amazing how, these excerpts, they're focused on English study skills. But they've prompted such a wide-ranging conversation.
They have. We've touched on some pretty big ideas.
I feel like we have.
It's a testament to how language is truly at the heart of so much of human experience.
We've explored its power to shape our understanding of the world, to connect with others, to navigate the complexities of different cultures.
And we've discussed how education, in its broadest sense, is about so much more than just accumulating knowledge.
Absolutely. It's about developing critical thinking skills, empathy, and the ability to engage with the world in a thoughtful and informed way.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
Through these excerpts.
I hope you're leaving with a sense of the richness and interconnectedness of all these ideas.
I know, I am.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what's the one idea or insight that has really stuck with you? Something that you'll carry forward from this exploration?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
For me, it's the recurring theme of perspective.
Perspective.
Whether we're talking about understanding different cultures, interpreting a poem, or simply trying to
communicate effectively. That ability to shift our perspective and consider different viewpoints
is essential.
I think that resonates with me too. It's a reminder to be more mindful, to question my own assumptions, and to approach situations with a greater sense of empathy.
And to realize that our own view of the world is just one of many. There's always more to learn, more to understand, and more ways to connect with the world around us.
And that, I think, is the beauty of education.
It is.
It's an ongoing journey of discovery. And these excerpts have given us a taste of the many paths that journey can take.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I encourage you to continue exploring these themes on your own. Revisit some of the sources we've discussed. Reflect on your own experiences. And keep seeking out new knowledge and perspectives.
Because the world is full of fascinating ideas.
It is.
Waiting to be discovered, and the journey of learning never truly ends.